Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Aurora, and welcome to Twin Flame Journey, a space where we explore the deeper meaning behind soul connections, divine timing, and the path that leads two hearts back to union. If you've been feeling the signs, you're in the right place.
I used to think obsession came from not having enough. Not enough attention. Not enough closure. Not enough access. Not enough control. But after watching these soul connections unfold, after hearing the quiet confessions people only say, when the room is dark and the ego is tired, I started seeing something different. Sometimes the divine masculine does not become obsessed because he is chasing fantasy. Sometimes he becomes obsessed because, for one brief moment, he experienced something real. Real energetic intimacy. Not just chemistry. Not just attraction. Not just desire. Not just the body wanting the body. Something deeper. A moment where her energy touched the place behind his mask. A moment where he felt seen without performing. A moment where his nervous system softened before his mind could stop it. A moment where the silence between them felt more honest than words. And then, it was over. Or he pulled away. Or fear came in. Or life returned to normal. But he did not return to normal. Not fully. Because once a man has been touched by real energetic intimacy, something in him remembers. The body remembers. The soul remembers. The hidden self remembers. The part of him that pretends not to need anyone remembers. And that remembering can become obsession. Not always in a dramatic way. Not always calling, chasing, confessing, or begging. Sometimes obsession looks like checking her page without admitting why. Thinking of her at random times. Comparing everyone else to a feeling he cannot explain. Trying to distract himself, but still feeling her under the distraction. Repeating one moment in his mind, because something about it felt like home and danger at the same time. So why does this happen? Why does real energetic intimacy make him unable to forget her? Why does the woman who touched him silently become louder than the women who try to impress him loudly? Why does he feel her more after he runs? Because energetic intimacy does not only make him want her. It introduces him to the part of himself he has been avoiding. And once he meets that part, he cannot unmeet it. That is where this journey begins. Chapter 1. He becomes obsessed because something in him finally felt safe. I used to underestimate how rare emotional safety is for men. Not surface safety. Not, I can be around you and feel comfortable. Not, I can joke with you. Not, I can be desired by you. I mean the deeper kind. The kind where a man feels, even for a second, that he does not have to perform. He does not have to be impressive. He does not have to be controlled. He does not have to know what to say. He does not have to carry the masculine mask with perfect posture. He can just be there. Quiet. Seen. Human. That kind of safety can feel almost foreign to the divine masculine, especially if he has spent years surviving through emotional self-containment. Real energetic intimacy often begins there. Not with a dramatic confession. Not with a perfect romantic moment. Sometimes it begins in a small pause. A look across the room that lingers too long. A conversation where his voice drops and becomes more honest. A silence where he does not feel pressured to fill the space. A moment where she sees that he is not fine, but she does not force him to explain. That is rare. And he feels it. Maybe he does not know what to call it. He might call it attraction. Chemistry. Curiosity. Something about her. But beneath all those names, his nervous system may be registering something deeper. Safety. Not the kind of safety that makes him bored. The kind that makes him soften. And softening can be terrifying for a man who has lived armored. So the obsession begins with a contradiction. He feels safe with her. And that safety scares him. Isn't that strange? The very thing his soul wants is the thing his defenses interpret as danger. Because if he feels safe, he might open. If he opens, he might need. If he needs, he might lose control. If he loses control, someone could hurt him. That is how the guarded masculine system thinks. Not in words. In body reactions. His chest tightens after closeness. His mind becomes loud after tenderness. He feels drawn to her, then suddenly wants distance. He craves the feeling, then panics at what the feeling means. This is where obsession starts to form. He is not only thinking about her. He is thinking about the feeling of being different with her. Less guarded. Less numb. Less alone inside himself. That feeling leaves an imprint. He may go back to his life, but everything feels slightly flatter. Other conversations do not reach the same place. Other attention does not land the same way. Other people may admire him, desire him, flatter him, but they do not touch the hidden room she touched without even trying. And then he wonders, why her? Why do I keep thinking about her? Why does one moment with her stay longer than hours with someone else? Why did I feel calmer and more exposed at the same time? This is the first layer of obsession. Not possession. Not control. Recognition. He recognizes that something in him felt safe enough to come forward. And he cannot forget the person who made that happen. But here is the difficult part. Feeling safe does not mean he knows how to stay. Sometimes he runs from the very person who made his nervous system soften. Sometimes he distances from the woman who brought him closest to his own heart. Sometimes he becomes obsessed after leaving, not because she abandoned him, but because he abandoned the version of himself he was becoming with her. That is the ache. He does not only miss her. He misses the safety he felt through her. And beneath that, he misses the self who almost came out of hiding. Lesson of this chapter. After real energetic intimacy, the divine masculine may become obsessed because something in him finally felt safe enough to soften. He is not only attached to her presence. He is attached to the rare feeling of being seen without performing. And once he tastes that kind of safety, ordinary connection starts feeling strangely empty. Chapter 2. Real energetic intimacy bypasses his mind. I have noticed that men can argue with emotion all day. They can explain it away. Minimize it. Label it. Make it logical. Call it timing. Call it stress. Call it nothing. But real energetic intimacy does not ask permission from the mind. It goes underneath. That is what makes it so powerful. He may have been telling himself he was in control. He may have thought he knew what kind of woman could reach him, what kind of connection mattered, what kind of emotional distance kept him safe. Then she enters his field. Not necessarily loudly. Sometimes quietly. And something bypasses the mental gatekeeper. Her presence does not need to convince him. Her eyes do not need to explain. Her energy does not need to perform. It simply reaches. And he feels it before he understands it. That is why energetic intimacy can disturb the divine masculine so deeply. It does not begin as a thought. It begins as a sensation. A shift in breath. A warmth in the chest. A strange stillness in the room. A feeling of being pulled inward instead of outward. A sense that she is not just looking at him, but somehow meeting him beneath the surface. His mind may not trust it. The mind says, this is just chemistry. The body says, no, something is different. The mind says, do not get attached. The body says, too late. Something has already opened. The mind says, you can walk away. The energy says, you can leave, but you will remember. That is the part he cannot control. And control is important to the avoidant masculine. He likes to know what he feels before he shows anything. He likes to understand a connection before it starts moving him. He likes to believe he can choose how much access someone has to his inner world. Real energetic intimacy humiliates that control a little. Not cruelly, but honestly. It shows him that some things reach him before his defenses can organize. A woman can say one sentence and touch an old ache. She can sit in silence and make him feel more exposed than a confession. She can look at him with softness and make the mask feel unnecessary for one dangerous second. That is what he remembers later. Not every word. The feeling. The charge. The moment his mind went quiet and something deeper responded. This is where obsession can develop. When the mind cannot fully explain an experience, it loops. It replays. It studies the moment. What was that? Why did I feel that? Why does she stay in my body? Why do I remember her energy more than the conversation? His mind tries to catch up to what his soul already felt. And the delay creates fixation. He may try to reduce it. She is not that special. It was just attraction. I am overthinking. But the body does not always obey the reduction. He still feels her. At night. In silence. In the weird, empty space after distraction ends. In the pause before sleep when the mind loses its grip and the body tells the truth. This can feel like obsession because he cannot put her into a simple category. She is not just someone he liked. Not just someone he desired. Not just someone he should forget. She becomes an unresolved experience. A living question inside him. And men often obsess over what they cannot categorize. Especially when it touches the unconscious. Energetic intimacy can wake up buried needs, old wounds, unspoken longing, and the desire to be emotionally met. It may open a door he did not even know existed. Then he becomes obsessed with the door. But really, he is obsessed with what is behind it. The part of himself she accessed. The part he has not known how to reach alone. Lesson of this chapter. Real energetic intimacy bypasses his mind and reaches his body, heart, and unconscious before he can explain it. He becomes fixated because his mind keeps trying to understand what his deeper self already recognized. And once something reaches him beneath logic, he can run from her, but not from the imprint. Chapter 3. He becomes obsessed with the imprint, not just the woman. I have seen people mistake emotional imprinting for simple attraction. They say, he just wants her. Sometimes, yes. But after real energetic intimacy, what he wants is not always simple. He may want her body, her voice, her attention, her warmth. But deeper than that, he wants the state she awakened in him. That is the imprint, the emotional atmosphere of her, the way his body felt around her, the strange mixture of calm and danger, the sensation of being understood without having to translate himself. That imprint can haunt him, not like a ghost story, like a nervous system memory. He may remember the way the room felt when they were alone, the exact pause after she said something honest, the way her eyes held him for a second longer than he was used to, the warmth in his body when she touched a truth he had not spoken. These things stay, not as clear thoughts, as atmosphere. This is why he may try to move on and fail. Someone else might be attractive. Someone else might be available. Someone else might even be easier. But easier does not mean deeper. And after energetic intimacy, easy can feel empty. He may not understand why. He may compare without meaning to. Not always consciously. But his body compares. Does this person feel me? Does this conversation reach me? Do I feel seen or only wanted? Do I feel touched inside or just entertained? That is the problem with being energetically met. Once it happens, the body remembers the difference. He may try to replace her with stimulation, but stimulation does not equal intimacy. He may try to distract himself with attention, but attention does not equal recognition. He may try to convince himself another connection is simpler, but simple may not awaken him. And a part of him misses being awakened, even if awakening scared him. This is where obsession becomes more psychological. He is not only attached to her. He is attached to the rupture she created in his numbness. Before her, he may have been functioning. Fine. Stable enough. Maybe not deeply alive, but okay. Then she came close. And something lit up. Not only desire. Memory. Longing. Tenderness. A grief he did not know he was carrying. A hunger to be seen. Now he cannot go back to not knowing. That is what makes the imprint powerful. It changes the baseline. The life he had before may still be there, but it does not feel untouched anymore. Her energy has left a mark on his inner landscape. And he may resent that. Raw honesty. Sometimes the divine masculine resents the woman who awakened him. Not because she did something wrong. Because now he cannot be numb in the same way. He may think, why did she affect me like this? But beneath the frustration is fear. If she affected me this much, I am not in control. If I am not in control, I can be hurt. If I can be hurt, I am vulnerable. That chain reaction is intense. So obsession may show up as resistance. He thinks about her, then gets angry that he thinks about her. He misses her, then tells himself he does not. He wants to reach out, then judges himself for wanting. He remembers the intimacy, then calls it a mistake. This inner push-pull is not indifference. It is conflict. The imprint is alive. And until he integrates what it awakened, he may keep circling it. Not always with action. Sometimes just internally. Returning again and again to the same question. Why did that feel different? That question is a doorway. If he has courage, it leads him inward. If he does not, it becomes obsession without growth. Lesson of this chapter. After real energetic intimacy, he may become obsessed not only with her, but with the imprint she left in his body and soul. She awakened a state of being he cannot easily replace. And once he realizes she changed his inner baseline, the obsession starts becoming a mirror. Chapter 4. Obsession begins when he cannot recreate the feeling anywhere else. I have noticed that people do not usually obsess over what they can easily replace. They obsess over what cannot be recreated. That is one of the hidden reasons the divine masculine becomes fixated after real energetic intimacy. He may try to recreate the feeling. Quietly. Without admitting it. He may talk to someone else. Flirt with someone else. Seek distraction. Return to familiar routines. Reach for attention that once worked. But the feeling does not land the same. Something is missing. Not because other people are less valuable. Not because she is perfect. Not because the connection must become a fantasy. It is because the energetic meeting was specific. Her frequency met a specific part of him. The hidden part. The protected part. The part that does not respond to everyone. And when that part has been touched, surface-level connection can feel strangely unsatisfying. He may sit across from someone beautiful and feel nothing deeper. He may laugh but not soften. He may be wanted but not seen. He may receive attention but not recognition. That difference becomes unbearable. It can make him question everything. Was it her? Was it timing? Was it chemistry? Was it some soul-level recognition? Why can I be around others and still feel emotionally untouched? This is where obsession grows. Not from abundance. From contrast. She becomes the emotional comparison point. The person who made him realize the difference between being desired and being known. Being entertained and being moved. Being close physically and being met energetically. That distinction can haunt him. He may not have known he needed energetic intimacy until he experienced it. He may have been satisfied with less before. Simple attraction. Easier connection. Controlled distance. Relationships where he could participate without being deeply exposed. Then she showed him another level. Now less feels like less. That can make a man restless. He may not be ready for the depth she represents, but he cannot fully go back to a life without depth. So he gets caught. Too awakened for shallow connection. Too afraid for real intimacy. That middle place can feel like obsession. He cannot move forward. Cannot fully go back. Cannot forget. Cannot integrate. He is suspended between desire and fear. A strange emotional purgatory. He may check her social media, then feel foolish. He may wonder what she is doing, then tell himself he does not care. He may compare every new interaction to the one energetic moment with her that still feels more alive than anything else. It is not always romantic. Sometimes it is destabilizing. He may feel like she has power over him. But often, what has power is not her as a person. It is the unmet depth inside him that she revealed. This is a crucial distinction. If he makes it only about her, he may become possessive, jealous, or emotionally reactive. He may try to regain access without becoming responsible. He may want the feeling back without honoring the woman who carried it. That is unconscious obsession. But if he looks deeper, he may ask, what did she awaken that I have been starving for? Why does being seen matter this much? Why have I settled for connections that do not touch me? What part of me came alive with her? And why do I keep abandoning that part? That is where obsession begins turning into awakening. The fixation becomes a message. Not, I must have her to feel alive. But, something in me is asking to live more honestly. That shift changes everything. Lesson of this chapter. He becomes obsessed when he cannot recreate the feeling anywhere else. Real energetic intimacy shows him a depth he may not have known he needed, making shallow connection feel empty. And when nothing else replaces what she awakened, he has to decide whether to chase the feeling or understand it. Chapter 5. Her energy becomes a mirror of the self he abandoned. I have seen men miss a woman and not realize they are also missing themselves. That is one of the most painful layers of this. After real energetic intimacy, the divine masculine may become obsessed because her energy becomes linked to a version of himself he abandoned. The softer self. The honest self. The self who almost opened. The self who felt seen and did not immediately have to defend. The self who wanted to stay in the moment instead of calculating the exit. That self may have appeared briefly with her. A crack in the mask. A real laugh. A quiet confession. A moment of eye contact where he stopped performing. A tenderness in his voice that surprised even him. Then fear came. And he pulled back. But the self who emerged in that moment does not disappear completely. It lingers. And she becomes associated with it. That is why he thinks of her more than he expects. She is not only a memory of intimacy. She is a memory of his own aliveness. That can be hard to face. It is easier to say, I cannot stop thinking about her, than to say, I cannot stop thinking about who I was becoming around her. The second sentence is more vulnerable. It means she touched his identity. Not the public identity. The hidden one. The part of him that wants to be more emotionally real. When a man abandons that part of himself, he may feel a strange grief afterward. Not clear. Not named. Just a sense that something important slipped away. He may still function. He may even look fine. But inside, there is a small emptiness where the awakened self had started to breathe. This is why obsession can intensify after he withdraws. Withdrawing from her also meant withdrawing from the version of himself that she helped bring forward. So now he is haunted by both. Her. And him. The man he almost became. He may remember how he wanted to tell her something, but stopped. How he almost reached for her hand. How he almost admitted that the connection scared him because it felt real. How he almost let the silence become honest instead of defensive. Almost. That word carries so much pain. Almost can haunt a person longer than failure. Failure is clear. Almost stays alive. Almost says, there was a doorway and you did not walk through. He may feel that. The missed doorway. And because she was standing near that doorway, he associates the ache with her. This can become obsession if he does not understand the deeper lesson. He may think he needs her to become that self again. But awakening asks something more difficult. Can he become that self without using her as the only doorway? Can he reclaim the honesty she awakened? Can he let the tenderness live even when she is not there to pull it out of him? Can he stop abandoning himself every time fear tells him to hide? That is the real work. Real energetic intimacy shows him who he is capable of being. But he must choose to become that man consciously. Not only in her presence. Not only when the connection is charged. In life. In communication. In vulnerability. In repair. In the ordinary moments where the old mask used to take over. This is where obsession becomes an initiation. It says, do not just remember her, remember yourself. Lesson of this chapter. Her energy becomes a mirror of the self he abandoned. He may obsess over her because she is tied to the softer, more honest, more alive version of himself that emerged through their intimacy. And when he realizes he is missing himself too, the obsession begins revealing a deeper wound. Chapter 6. The obsession is often a fight against vulnerability. I will say something uncomfortable. Sometimes obsession is not surrender. Sometimes it is resistance. It looks like he cannot let go of her. But underneath, he may be fighting the vulnerability she awakened. He thinks about her constantly, but does not reach out honestly. He watches from a distance, but does not communicate. He feels the pull, but does not take responsibility for what happened. He circles the connection mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but avoids the one thing that would make it real: truth. This is one of the contradictions of the divine masculine after energetic intimacy. He may become consumed by the feeling while still avoiding the vulnerability required to meet it. That is not love yet. It is inner conflict. He wants to feel her without risking rejection. He wants to remember without being accountable. He wants access to the emotional high without entering the emotional truth. He wants to keep the connection alive inside himself while avoiding what it would ask of him in real life. That is where obsession can become a hiding place. Strange, right? You would think obsession means he is moving toward her. Not always. Sometimes obsession lets him stay emotionally attached without becoming emotionally present. He can think about her, dream about her, feel her energy, replay moments. But as long as he stays in that private loop, he does not have to risk a real conversation. He does not have to hear her pain. He does not have to admit his fear. He does not have to face the woman in real time, with her boundaries, her questions, her changed energy. Fantasy is safer than presence. Memory is safer than accountability. Energetic longing is safer than embodied love. That is raw. But important. The feminine needs to understand this. Just because he is energetically obsessed does not mean he is ready. He may be feeling everything and still hiding. He may be haunted and still avoidant. He may miss her deeply and still not be mature enough to approach her with care. This is why her discernment matters. She should not confuse his inner obsession with outer readiness. A man can be consumed by a connection and still not know how to love the woman safely. He has to cross the bridge from fixation to responsibility. And that bridge is vulnerability. Can he say what he feels? Can he admit what scared him? Can he acknowledge where he disappeared? Can he stop making her the mysterious source of his obsession and begin owning what she revealed inside him? That is awakening. Without that, obsession can become a loop. He feels. He resists. He remembers. He distances. He checks. He denies. He misses. He does nothing. Then the loop begins again. What breaks the loop? Truth. Not perfect truth. Human truth. I do not fully understand why this affected me so deeply, but it did. I got scared after feeling close. I know I pulled away. I have been thinking about what happened. I do not want to create confusion again. These sentences require courage. Not dramatic courage. Emotional courage. The kind that makes the throat tight. The kind that makes the hand hover over the send button. The kind that makes a man feel like he is stepping out of armor with no guarantee he will be received. That is what obsession is asking him to learn. Not how to possess her. How to become honest. Lesson of this chapter. His obsession may actually be a fight against vulnerability. He can be consumed by the connection while still avoiding the truth, accountability, and emotional risk required to meet it. And when he can no longer hide inside private longing, the obsession begins asking him to awaken. Chapter 7. Energetic intimacy awakens the masculine hunger to be known. I have always believed people are lonelier than they admit. Especially the ones who look strong. Especially the ones who say they are fine. Especially the men who have built entire lives around being capable, but not deeply known. Real energetic intimacy touches that loneliness. It does not just make him feel desired. It makes him feel known. And for the divine masculine, being known can awaken a hunger he did not know how to name. Not a sexual hunger only. A soul hunger. The hunger to be met without explanation. To be understood without performance. To be held emotionally without being weakened. To be seen beneath the role, the armor, the controlled face. If she gave him even a glimpse of that, he may become fixated afterward. Not because she did something magical in a theatrical sense. Because she gave his loneliness a language. Before her, he may have thought he was fine. Independent. Self-contained. Used to not needing much. Then energetic intimacy happens, and he feels the ache of being met. And after that, being unknown feels different. Loneliness feels louder. He may return to people who know his surface, his habits, his humor, his image, the version of him that functions. But they do not know the hidden place. She touched the hidden place. That contrast can become obsessive. He may wonder why one woman could make him feel more emotionally naked in silence than others did in long conversations. It is not always about how much time they spent together. Depth does not always follow duration. Sometimes one moment of real energetic intimacy reaches further than months of surface interaction. That can disturb him. He may ask, "How did she know? Why did I feel exposed? Why did I want to tell her things? Why did her presence make me feel like I could stop pretending?" This is where the masculine hunger to be known begins to rise. And hunger can feel dangerous. If he admits he wants to be known, he must admit he is lonely. If he admits he is lonely, he must admit independence has not fully nourished him. If he admits he needs emotional connection, the mask loses power. So he may resist. He may call the connection strange. He may call her intense. He may call himself confused. He may pull away from the very intimacy his soul craves. But the hunger remains. And in separation it may grow. Not because she is feeding it, because he is finally feeling it. This is important. Sometimes her absence does not create the hunger. It removes the distraction from it. He realizes he wants more than attention. He wants to be known. He wants depth. He wants a place where his nervous system can stop bracing. He wants the kind of intimacy that feels like being touched without being invaded. That is a rare desire. A sacred desire. But it must mature. The hunger to be known can become obsession if he believes only she can give him access to himself. Awakening begins when he realizes she revealed the hunger, but he must learn to meet it consciously. He must become knowable. That means speaking, showing, risking, letting someone see the imperfect truth instead of waiting for them to intuit everything. A man cannot be truly known while hiding and then resent people for not finding him. That is a hard sentence. But it is real. Energetic intimacy may show him what being known feels like. Awakening teaches him how to become available to it. Lesson of this chapter. Real energetic intimacy awakens the masculine hunger to be known beneath the mask. He may become obsessed because she touched his hidden loneliness and showed him what deeper recognition feels like. And once he realizes he wants to be known, he must face the fear of becoming knowable. Chapter 8. He becomes obsessed when her energy stops chasing him. I have seen something happen over and over in these connections. He feels her more when she stops reaching. Not because she is playing a game. Not because silence is a tactic. But because her energy finally returns to herself. And he feels the absence of what he once unconsciously relied on. Before, she may have been the one carrying the thread. She sensed him. She reached emotionally. She explained. She softened. She tried to understand his distance. She kept the connection alive with hope, patience, and invisible emotional labor. He may not have realized how much he was receiving from that. Her attention, her devotion, her energetic availability. The feeling that even when he was distant, she was still there somewhere. Then she shifts. Not cold. Clear. She stops sending energy into the silence. She stops chasing clarity from a man who keeps hiding. She stops making his unreadiness the center of her emotional world. And something in him reacts. Her energy is no longer orbiting him. That can trigger obsession. Not always conscious obsession. Sometimes it feels like agitation. Why does she feel different? Why is the silence heavier now? Why do I feel her more when she is doing less? Why does her absence feel like a boundary instead of a waiting room? This is the moment he begins to feel what he took for granted. When her energy was chasing, he could stay passive. Her movement created emotional activity. Her reaching gave him something to react to. Her hope kept the field warm, even when he did not bring enough warmth himself. But when she stops, the field goes quiet. And in that quiet, he has to feel his own part. His own longing. His own avoidance. His own lack of movement. His own unfinished truth. This can feel obsessive because he no longer has access to the same emotional supply. That phrase may sound harsh, but let us be honest. Sometimes the divine masculine unconsciously receives feminine energy without becoming responsible to it. He receives her softness, her attention, her emotional holding, her belief in him. But he does not fully understand the sacredness of what he is receiving until it is withdrawn. When she returns to herself, he may suddenly feel hungry. Not just for her. For the energy he once assumed would remain available. This is where the difference between ego obsession and awakened longing matters. Ego obsession says, I want access back. Awakened longing says, I see what I failed to honor. Ego obsession resents her boundary. Awakened longing respects why it exists. Ego obsession wants her to chase again. Awakened longing asks whether he is ready to move toward truth. This is the turning point. Her self-return can either activate his entitlement or awaken his responsibility. If he is still unconscious, he may become restless because he lost access. If he is awakening, he becomes humbled because he realizes that access was sacred. The feminine needs to know this. Do not return to chasing just because you feel him becoming activated. His activation is not your instruction. Sometimes his obsession is the consequence of your energy finally coming home. Let it teach him. Let him feel the space. Let him ask what he feels when he is no longer being carried. Not as punishment, as truth. Lesson of this chapter. He may become obsessed when her energy stops chasing because he feels the loss of the emotional field she once carried. Her self-return reveals whether he wants access or is ready for responsibility. And once she stops feeding the old pattern, his obsession has nowhere to hide. Chapter 9. The obsession becomes awakening only when he takes responsibility. I have to be honest here. Obsession is not awakening. It can be a doorway, but it is not the destination. A man can think about a woman constantly and still not be transformed. He can miss her, watch her, dream about her, feel her energy, compare everyone to her, and still remain emotionally immature. This is important, because the spiritual world sometimes romanticizes obsession. It calls everything a sign, everything a bond, everything destiny. But real spiritual psychology has to be more grounded than that. If his obsession does not make him more honest, it is still unconscious. If it does not make him more responsible, it is still a loop. If it does not make him more respectful of her boundaries, it may just be desire mixed with fear. Awakening begins when he asks, what am I supposed to learn from this fixation? Not, how do I get her back? Not first. Deeper. What did she reveal in me? What did I avoid after intimacy? How did I respond to her softness? Did I want her energy without protecting her heart? Did I make my fear more important than her emotional safety? These are awakening questions. They move him out of obsession and into accountability. Without accountability, obsession can become selfish. He wants relief. He wants reassurance. He wants to know she still feels it. He wants to restore the energetic access. But accountability asks something different. It asks him to consider her experience. How did his withdrawal affect her? How did his silence land in her body? How did his inconsistency shape her trust? What did it cost her to stay open to him? This is where a man begins to change. Not when he realizes he cannot forget her. When he realizes she should not have had to lose herself to be remembered. That sentence matters. A lot. The awakened masculine does not use obsession as proof of love. He lets it become proof that something inside him needs to mature. He may feel her constantly, but instead of feeding the loop, he asks what action would be honest. Maybe that action is an apology. Maybe it is giving her space because he is not ready to return responsibly. Maybe it is doing inner work before reaching out. Maybe it is finally communicating without manipulation, without vagueness, without expecting immediate access. The form may vary. The energy is what matters. Responsibility. A responsible return sounds different. Not, I cannot stop thinking about you, as if that alone should open the door. But, I have been reflecting on how I showed up, and I understand why you had to protect your peace. Not, I miss your energy. But, I realize I received your softness without giving enough clarity. Not, do you still feel it? But, I do not want to create confusion again. That is awakening. It does not make the return perfect. It makes it safer. A man who is awakening understands that her heart is not a place to visit when his obsession becomes uncomfortable. Her heart is sacred. If he comes close, he must come with care. And if he cannot come with care, he must not keep pulling on the bond just to soothe himself. That is mature masculine restraint. Not avoidance. Restraint. The difference is intention. Avoidance hides from truth. Restraint honors the truth that he may not yet be ready to handle responsibly. That kind of honesty is rare. But it is real. And it is part of awakening. Lesson of this chapter. Obsession becomes awakening only when he takes responsibility for what the intimacy revealed and how his actions affected her. Without accountability, fixation remains a loop. And once responsibility enters, the obsession either becomes mature love or begins to dissolve. Chapter 10. Real energetic intimacy does not possess him. It calls him home to himself. I want to end with something quieter than obsession. Because obsession is loud. Even when it happens silently. It pulls. Repeats. Loops. Checks. Compares. Replays. Wonders. But real energetic intimacy is not meant to trap the divine masculine in fixation forever. It is meant to call him home. Not just to her. To himself. That is the deeper purpose. She may have been the doorway. The mirror. The catalyst. The woman whose energy reached him when nothing else could. But the awakening cannot end with obsession. If it stays there, it becomes another form of avoidance. A more spiritual-looking one. He is still not fully living the lesson. Real energetic intimacy says, come back to your heart. Come back to your truth. Come back to the part of you that wants to be known. Come back to the tenderness you buried. Come back to the man who can feel without disappearing. That is the call. And if he listens, the obsession begins to transform. The constant mental loop becomes reflection. The hunger for access becomes reverence. The fear of vulnerability becomes curiosity. The urge to possess becomes a desire to honor. The question, why can't I forget her, becomes, what did she awaken that I need to integrate? That is awakening. He begins to understand that the connection was never only about getting her, keeping her, or being chosen by her. It was about becoming more real, more honest, more emotionally alive, more capable of sacred intimacy. This is where masculine obsession matures into masculine presence. Presence does not need to stalk the energy. Presence speaks truth. Presence respects boundaries. Presence does not demand access because it feels longing. Presence asks, can I show up in a way that honors what was awakened? That is a different frequency. And for the divine feminine listening, this part is for you. Do not make his obsession your validation. I know that may be hard to hear. Especially if you were the one who felt unseen. If you were the one who wondered whether he felt it too. If you were the one who cried in silence while he acted untouched. Knowing he cannot forget, you may feel like justice. A little. Humanly, I understand. But your worth is not proven by his fixation. Your worth is not dependent on whether he dreams of you, misses you, checks on you, or feels your absence. You are not here to become unforgettable to a man who is still unavailable. You are here to be met. In presence. In honesty. In care. In consistency. In a love that does not only feel you energetically, but honors you humanly. That is the sacred difference. Being energetically unforgettable is powerful. Being emotionally safe is better. Being desired is powerful. Being respected is better. Being missed is powerful. Being chosen with presence is better. So if he becomes obsessed after real energetic intimacy, let that be his mirror. Let it show him what he felt. Let it show him what he feared. Let it show him where he ran from himself. Let it invite him into truth. But do not abandon your own center to manage what his soul is learning. You can love him. You can feel the connection. You can honor that something real happened. And still say, I will not live inside someone else's unintegrated longing. That sentence is not cold. It is awake. Real energetic intimacy does not ask either person to lose themselves. It asks both people to become more true. For him, that may mean turning obsession into responsibility. For you, it may mean turning hope into discernment. For the connection, it may mean allowing truth to decide what can actually be lived. If he returns, let him return with presence. If he speaks, let him speak with clarity. If he misses you, let him understand what he failed to honor. If he loves you, let love become behavior. And if he remains obsessed but unavailable, let that teach you too. A man can feel you deeply and still not be ready to meet you. A man can be haunted by your energy and still not be safe for your heart. A man can awaken through you and still need to walk his path without using you as the place where he avoids his own work. That is emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, human maturity. So let the final message be this. The divine masculine becomes obsessed after real energetic intimacy because she touched the part of him that wants to be known, healed, softened, and brought back to life. But the obsession is only sacred if it leads him into truth. Not control. Not possession. Not fantasy. Truth. The truth that he felt something. The truth that he feared it. The truth that he may have run. The truth that her energy awakened a man inside him he now has to choose whether to become. And for her, the truth that being felt is not the same as being met. If this message touched something in you, write in the comments. I deserve to be met, not just remembered. Like this video if it gave you clarity. Subscribe for more spiritual psychology, divine masculine, divine feminine, soul connection, separation, and emotional awakening insights. And share this with someone who needs to remember. Real energetic intimacy does not create obsession to trap the soul. It creates awakening to bring the soul home. Lesson of this chapter. Real energetic intimacy is not meant to possess him forever. It calls him back to his own heart, truth, and emotional responsibility. His obsession becomes sacred only when it matures into presence, respect, and awakened love.
Thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message resonated with your soul, remember to subscribe and continue this journey with us here on Twin Flame Journey. And always remember, what is meant for your soul will always find its way back to you. Until next time, beautiful soul, trust the journey.